These are the Baofeng Walkie Talkie, what they call their model UV5R5s. These are 5-watt dual band two-way radios. Now, included here with the set, of course, you get 2 radios. The instruction manual, which I actually don't have in the picture, but here you go. The instruction manual. Belt clips, which I've already got attached. You have to attach those via the 2 screws here on the back, as they're not attached. The 2 chargers here, power adapters that plug into the chargers, 2 batteries, the antennas, which I've already got screwed in, the wrist straps, which I've already got on here, and wired earpieces, which I don't have in the picture, but let me grab here real quick and show you. That plug in with the 2 prongs here. Now, I initially had issues with one of the 2 chargers not charging the radios. In this case, this has a LED light. Let me bring up a little closer. One of these has a LED light that indicates different charging statuses and the status of the charger and/or battery. And one of the particular chargers in this case would not charge up either of the batteries. It would just flash red really quickly and green when a battery or the radio was inserted. Now, according to the instructions, although the instructions I think are a little unclear on this, this means that there's an error. But the instructions also indicate this also means standby. And it's not real clear about that. I believe it means if there's no battery in there and it's flashing that red and green, it's standby. If there's a battery in it, it means error. I kind of wish they would kind of, number one, make that a little clearer in the instructions, and number 2, change to the LED light, because if you pull it out, it flashes red and green constantly, which I presume means standby mode, but I'm not sure why you need a light for that in that case. Really, I think the light should just go off. So that would make it easier to kind of tell if there's a problem with the radios or the charger or whatever. It's just, if you don't have a battery in it, why is there a need for an LED light in this case? Or a separate fault light so that you don't have the confusion with the green and red light flashing that can kind of confuse me, because the other charger charges the batteries just fine, but if you take and pull it out, it flashes that same red and green light. That means error. So I wasn't really sure initially. So how do you know which is which? So again, instructions would be clear on that. I think it would be better if there was an actual fault light and separate from the power light, and/or changing the lights to where it doesn't flash at all. If it doesn't even come on if you have nothing in the charger. That would make more sense to me. But I contacted the company that makes these. They quickly sent replacements. As you can see, both of these are charging just fine now. The batteries are fully charged and showing green with the batteries in them. They both charge just fine. So one of the original chargers was defective. But they quickly replaced them. And wasn't an issue after that. Again, though, I still think they should change that feature of the lights a little bit to make it a little more simplified. Now, as you can see here, it can charge with the radio plugged in or just the battery by itself, like a lot of standard type radio chargers do. Now, as for the radios themselves, I'm actually pretty impressed with this little radio, considering what it is, with all the features and the quality of the radio. Size-wise, it's a pretty compact radio. You can see it's less than 4 inches high without the antenna, and about 2 inches wide. The antenna itself is about 5 inches long. But this does take a little bit of time to figure out. It's not like a standard, just two-way, simple walkie-talkie, especially with the programming. Luckily, the instructions are actually pretty decent in that respect in terms of getting it programmed. There's 128 channels with a pretty good frequency range with this. And the radios support narrowband, which is good, including like splinter channels. So that's nice as well. I'll turn it on here. As you can hear that, it's letting you know what mode it's in. There's an 1800 milliamp battery, which is pretty decent. Battery life's pretty good. And I was actually pretty surprised. I'm really not going to demonstrate it here, but in the reception I received with the radio, I actually walked a couple blocks away, and the signal was pretty clear on both ends with no static. Now, of course, that's going to be dependent upon a lot of different things in terms of frequencies in the area and your topography in the area that you live. But I live in a pretty hilly area, and I got pretty good range with these. I was actually quite surprised versus some radios that I use for work, which are Motorola brand high-end radios. So I was actually quite surprised that these had pretty good range. And now, I'll bring it up close. The digital display is pretty easy to read. As you can see, the frequencies there. And the programming voice is pretty easy to understand. Now, on the top is a pretty large, power button and volume button together. And then it's also got a flashlight feature on here if you need that feature. There's the push to talk, which is a nice one. The mode button, and then also the flashlight button as well on the side here. The push to talk, is easy to press, easy to use. I can show you the flash. Oops, my bad. That's the call button. There's the flashlight button. It also has a flashing mode. And the flashlight's pretty decent for what it is. If you need it in an emergency, I guess. I was actually surprised this had an FM radio function with it, and the radio reception is actually pretty good with this, especially it's got a 5-inch antenna, so the radio reception is really good. The speaker is loud and clear; it's understandable. Overall, it's a pretty good quality radio. The wired earpiece is nothing special, but it's decent for what it is, considering this price level. But it does work pretty well. And for me, other than the initial issues with this radio charger and the confusing lights with them, that are on the chargers themselves, this really feels like a solid quality radio. I'm going to do a quick demo here.
I've actually walked outside. I wanted to test how this sounds and record this from far away so you could hear the clarity and the sound of the speaker.
So, radio reception is pretty good with this. This does include a 1-year warranty, and it's a pretty solid set for the price. I give it 4 stars.